In the wrestling world, the people are represented by two separate but unequally important groups. The wrestlers and bookers, who literally do all the hard work, and the fans, who endlessly nitpick and overanalyze everything they do. These are their stories.
Welcome to Raw and Order, the wrestling booking unit, the only wrestling podcast on the planet, hosted by a fake cop and a fake while you're discussing fake crimes in a fake sport. I am Officer Marks, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime fighting, D.A. Vincent K. Fave. What's going on, man? How are you?
You know, really exciting week in wrestling, I think, this week. I have a pretty solid complaint for not a crime, but as a whole, I just really would like to see Raw and SmackDown step up their game. But other than that, yeah, great.
Yeah. Well, we also have another guest today joining us today, making a very strong case.
Let me guess.
What?
We have a special guest. Okay, so I'm gonna guess. This special guest is Braun. Yeah.
No,
it's not Braun Strowman. No.
No.
Hold on. Don't tell me. This special guest is awesome. Yeah.
No, it's not the Miz.
Not the Miz.
We're not that big.
Is it Adam Cole, baby?
No. It is not any of those. No. It's making a very strong case for deputization. Host of Real Talk Radio, Justin LeBlanc.
That's it. That is me. And you know why that is me? Because I am Braun, I am awesome, and I'm a baby making babies with your baby mama. Because I am better than you, and you know it. Sorry, guys, I'm still hyped from AEW. What an amazing AEW it was. That's right, Justin LeBlanc from Real Talk Radio. Guys, what's going on?
Man,
not much. You can tell I'm still fighting off this bad voice.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man.
Yeah, man. Please tell me where you get those meds so I don't get the same thing whenever I have a cold, because it is not working, buddy.
Yeah, it's just whatever they prescribed me at Walgreens. But the thing is, like, I feel fine. I just have no voice, and it makes patrolling a little tough during the day.
That would be different.
Yeah, I don't know how you stay freeze all the time. Like, I don't get what you're doing. You can't even do half your job.
Wait. Patrolling? You didn't get the memo?
Well, no, I was going to go over that a little bit later. I definitely got the memo.
Okay.
We'll get to it now, I guess.
Okay.
The official news is I've been promoted to a desk job, which means my patrolling will stop. The downside is it means I won't get to listen to as many podcasts because sitting at a desk, I can't really just, listen all that. But it does mean that I will soon be Detective Marks. So that's cool.
Yeah, good for you on the name change.
Yeah, well done. Congrats. Hopefully, so that cold was kind of a blessing in disguise then, I guess.
Yeah, it got me off the beat, I guess.
That's it.
Well, since this is Justin's first time here, I'll kind of cover a little bit about how we operate on this. We're going to go through a handful of the air quotes crimes in professional wrestling, lay out our cases for why they are a crime, and kind of go from there. Keep it loose and lighthearted, and I think I went first last time, although it was long enough ago because of this cold, I can't remember. So I'll go ahead and let D.A. Fave go first. D.A. Fave, what's your first crime?
Crime number 1.
Charges are being brought against Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, you are being charged for identity theft of 1997. Chris Jericho. That's who's being charged. Because the temper tantrum at the end of the tag team match was absolutely great.
It was awesome. It reminded me of the temper tantrum he threw after Dean Malenko beat him back in WCW 97-ish.
That's exactly what I thought of. In fact, as a whole, the identity theft is not just Chris Jericho. It's AEW for identity theft of the primetime years of wrestling. And I say that because, and I don't want to get too in depth because I'm sure that the promo is going to be a crime, but the promo was the best I've seen in years. I called you as soon as it got done. I know you hadn't even started watching yet because you had worked your DVR because it was a patrol day for you, it was but as a whole, AEW Dynamite was so good, so incredibly good. I don't know what else can be said. It literally made me feel like I was back in the late 90s. This is amazing. The promos were Rock Austin level. The temper tantrum reminded me of Jericho in his earlier days.
Little nostalgia feeling, yeah.
Oh, the whole thing was just so good. I was like, this is incredibly good. I almost popped a bottle of the bubbly.
No, I've been getting that same feeling through Dynamite for the entire run of it so far. It's part of why I like it so much, because it really has that like late 90s primetime wrestling in some reason. And I know some people want them to steer away from the WCW feeling as much as possible. I don't. Lean into it. I mean, that's the sort of stuff that's going to bring some people back, in my opinion.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, they aren't doing pure WCW. And you notice there wasn't the Freebird rule in place, you know? So, I mean, that's another plus. Just as a whole, just all around, great. Very well done.
And they were taking the good parts of WCW as well. So it's not like they're completely stealing from WCW. They're just taking little portions here and there and then just adding their own little AW feel to it. Promo was amazing, but also, that excitement of, them giving the fans what they want. Never have I ever seen a promo which John Moxley gave rather, and then I was thinking who's gonna step up. I'm like, please Darby Allin, please Darby Allin, please Darby Allin. And then we see Darby Allin wrestle, and then he's like, hey, John Moxley, guess what? I accept. And then I was just like flabbergasted because I got what I want in such a short period of time, and I'm not used to that with watching WWE content. You know what I mean? So it just keeps bringing you in, and I'm excited.
Interestingly enough, that's not the promo I was talking about. That makes it even better.
Well, no, of course.
The promo that DA was talking about was definitely the MJF Jericho promo.
Oh no, I figured you guys were talking about that for sure, but everyone's talking about that. Everybody in the internet is talking about that promo. Absolutely remarkable. And like we discussed even in our previous cast, when we were doing our fantasy bookings, we were discussing that, hey, we got Jericho, we got MJF, and guys, like I mentioned, just imagine if The Miz was there. That's all you're kind of missing, and you have your three top talking guys, and I loved it. It was just amazing, those two, just the back and forth, the bickering, the baby, the whining. It was just, spot on.
Yeah, as a whole.
And what a way to debut Wardlow, huh? Show these promos for him, and Wardlow wasn't someone that most of us were familiar with. Like, he wasn't Jake Hager. Most of us kind of knew, but he's been on the indies. Some people, who pay enough attention to the right indies, might have known who he was, but most of us, he's just all we'd seen were those promos they'd shown a couple times, and then to have him come out and be MJF's muscle there was just perfect.
I also think that's a really good indicator. Like after the next Bellator fight for Hager, I would expect to see him do an AEW match. I think that you're going to have a MJF turn on Jericho with both of them having their muscle there. It also sets up for the Fozzy tour coming up soon. So as a whole, I know that's more fantasy booking, but how cool would it be to have these two silent monsters in the ring together as well? So I don't know that I've been this excited for wrestling to see how a storyline plays out over really probably more like a 6-month period ever. I mean, I've always seen it, from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. In the 90s, it was because I was young, and then recently over the last 15 years or so, it's been because that's all the farther Vince can look into the future. So as to the next pay-per-view. So yeah, I'm pumped about AEW as a whole.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. AEW. I mean, they gave us a ton of reasons to be pumped about it, and I mean, Dynamite this week was great.
That your first
Full Gear was
Dynamite.
I don't know.
Give A's, but
I don't know if I'm quite like. I think it was great, but in a way, it had some peaks and valleys that I think some of the valleys brought it down a bit overall for me. I probably would be giving, like, if we were to the 10 scale of 1 to 10 like I've done before, I probably would give this one about an 8.9. So it's actually overall a little bit lower than like the Go Home show, but there were so many like great peaks that really kind of kept it going.
The highs were
But it was a great
yeah. So yeah, I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No.
I mean, what else technically happened though? Because the only thing I can really remember was the Chris Jericho promo, Darby Allin accepting John Moxley's challenge.
Darby Allin won a match.
Mm-hmm.
With the coffin drop, so now he's officially using it on a weekly basis, or whenever he does wrestle, and it's perfect. Yeah. And then of course with the main event with Wardlow.
The main event was the SCU retained the title.
Right. Okay, true. The Wardlow thing happened before, but that was also amazing. We also saw our Jericho first loss in AEW, and that was by why can't I remember names today? Which SCU member was that? That was by
Sky. Actually,
Scorpio Sky.
There's the SCU. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to kind of run down the whole card from Dynamite.
Go ahead.
And she started off with John defeating which, I mean, it was just right. You then had Dark Order versus Dark Order, kind of, in my opinion, one of the low spots, because Dark Order is not for me. Like,
well, yeah, but you had the return of Luchasaurus.
Yeah, you did have the return of Luchasaurus, that up a bit, but I was like, I'm done with Dark Order. Like you said, Darby Allin defeated Peter Avalon and with the assist of Joey out and attacking Sean Spears.
Right.
That was a good. Nyla Rose beat Danny Jordan, who is talent. I'm guessing they're using a lot of these matches to try out women.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling she'll be signed eventually.
She looked good in that match with Nyla.
She looked really good. Then you had the weird little alley cutting a promo ringside with Tony Schiavone before Awesome Kong and Brandy Rhodes came out and beat her up and cut a hank of her hair off.
That was
then
just
you had
ridiculous.
The Chris Jericho promo.
Yeah. Of course.
You had the Chris Jericho and MJF promo. You had Pac defeating Hangman Page, which to me, I didn't get it, because you just had Pac versus Hangman Page all year, and to me felt like that should have been like at the least a short-term end to that for a bit, and then they just on the next Dynamite do it again and then have Pac win.
Well, that was their
But their Dynamite match was actually better, I find, than the one at Full Gear. Like, I actually enjoyed the Dynamite one more so than the other one. And yeah, I don't know why they did it though. Like, I thought it was just over.
And then you had the Young Bucks brawl with Santana and Ortiz backstage. That was chaotic, and I mean it was fun. There was the highlight moment was when I think it's Santana, but I can't remember which one is which. Threw one of the Jacksons through a door into a restroom, and the door flops open, and there's just Orange Cassidy just hanging out in the restroom, just chilling there. And Santana doesn't know what to do, and then like creeps over and grabs the thing and closes the door, and then goes back to beating up on the Jackson. And then you had the main event, the tag team match, SCU defeating Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. And so like it was a good show, but compared to like the go home show, there were just enough downs that kind of brought it down.
The only big down that I saw of it, and this is part of the identity theft, because I was going to bring this up. The identity theft is also on one downside, and that one downside was the second hour of that 2-hour show truly lacked wrestling content. It was so heavy on the promotion front, with the backstage fighting and everything like that, the interruptions and all of that. It just seems so heavy on the promo front and lacked a little bit on the wrestling front. Now, that said, we just talked about one phenomenal promo in it. We talked about a temper tantrum that was the final 2 minutes of it. And so, when you have 2 minutes taken up there and a promo that was probably 12 minutes, I'm going to guess 12 to 14 minutes. I mean, that was a long promo, the MJF and Chris Jericho one. Then you are going to lack that stuff. But that was also kind of an impersonation of that era. I mean, how many times did we see Triple H cut a promo, The Rock interrupt him, and then Stone Cold interrupt that, and The Undertaker interrupt that, then Kane interrupt that, or whatever it may be, and we haven't seen wrestling for 25 minutes, and then we have to go to a commercial break. So there were some down.
Or the picture-in-picture.
Yeah, but they didn't do PIP back then. That is I have to give props to both AEW and NXT are using tons of PIP, and I love the PIP.
You down
I like
PIP?
it for the show.
Yeah,
No,
down with PIP, yeah, you know me. Yeah.
So,
no,
yeah.
I like it. Here's the deal. I like it. I think they don't always have to do it. WCW back in the day always would do this. You'd hear Tony Schiavone say, we got to take a commercial break, but we got the cameras running, so if anything happens, we'll show you as soon as we get back. And I think that's fine. The problem is like WWE has gotten to where they go to commercial break and the action basically stops in the ring until they come back. And then, so nothing happens. And I get it. They don't want you to feel like you missed something during the commercial break. But to have things happen during the commercial break and then show them like, oh my goodness, this is what you missed, really creates like a sense of excitement in my mind.
Creates a sense of realism.
Yeah, that too. And that's what the PIP is doing as well, right? So, but the thing is, I got kind of annoyed at the PIP now. The first few shows, it was kind of cool. Okay, let's see what's kind of happening. And then when they do it in between a match, I'm still annoyed by having to look at the smaller screen. Like if they did it the other way around, where the commercials were on the smaller screen, and then you still had the big screen for the actual wrestling, without the sound, I wouldn't mind. But in reality, I'm not missing much on the PIP, so I'm just like, screw it, on to the next one. You know what I mean? Like skip until it comes back to the full screen.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll ever get advertisers to agree to take. Oh, you guys just get the little screen, bud.
Oh, unless they pay less. Unless it's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm getting a little screen. How about I pay 20% less? Then maybe they'll do it, but then no one makes money, so it won't be done.
But all in all, no, I mean, I agree with the charges filed. AEW really does, in many ways, feel like a throwback to that era in professional wrestling, when wrestling actually happened. And I think so much of it is just it was like 3 weeks ago when a Dynamite came on the air. There were people already in the ring starting a match, right?
I really enjoyed that.
Unheard of on That's unheard of on WWE. WWE, the show starts, and then there's someone walks to the ring and delivers a 20-minute long promo, where they talk about this is what happened last week, and this is who I'm angry at, and this is my yard, or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say tonight on SmackDown, that exact thing happened. We'll cut a promo at the beginning of the show. Okay.
Exactly.
I mean, hey, come on. At least we got to see mascot Roman Reigns come out. It was pretty, I mean, Corbin's great. You got to give it to Corbin. Corbin's awesome. But I mean, the rest of SmackDown kind of sucked. But I agree. I really like how they start in the ring, ready to go, especially when you know it's going to be like a Young Buck match or the Lucha Bros match. You know it's going to be a good time and it's going to be a good matchup. Or even when they did that hardcore match a few weeks ago too. I forgot. I think Joey Janela was in it. But it's awesome because it's like you're ready to go. Screw this like entrance, blah blah blah. Let's get her done. Let's start the match ready. And they also have a time constraint, so they'll do the promos later. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, I agree with the charge. I think the jury of our listeners would probably agree as well that AEW Dynamite definitely feels fresh, even if it feels like a throwback in many ways. But yeah, no, they're definitely taking the lessons from the mid-90s wrestling boom to heart instead of just trying to reinvent the wheel.
Very much so.
Right. But I agree on all of that, and I think we can close the book on that one, and the jury can weigh in their opinions on Twitter and let us know what they think. But we can move on to crime number 2.
Boom, boom.
Crime number 2.
So, crime number 2, in kind of related, I am charging Full Gear with being a very solid show, top to bottom. While it only had 8 matches total, including the one on the pre-show, the main event, Cody versus Jericho, and the Lights Out Mox versus Omega match tore it down. And that really made up for some of the matches that arguably might have been a little bit below our expectation. But it made that pay-per-view just feel really good all around. So I came away from that, and I know DA Fabe didn't get to watch it live when it was happening. Hopefully he's gone back and at the very least watched the full Lights Out. That one is very much worthwhile.
I have gone back and watched the full highlights of
honestly, though, but the highlights...
You really need to watch.
I will watch it, I promise.
But honestly, the highlights in reality, though, were just the 2 main events. As you were mentioning, the rest of the card was kind of underwhelming. Like, the triple tag team match wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. In fact, a match that I thought...
Yeah. And that's the deal. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah. The match that I thought that would have been actually worse ended up being even better than the triple tag team was Bucks versus Ortiz and Santana. That match was actually pretty spot on. There was actually storytelling there that the Young Bucks did as well. We got the Rock and Roll Express in there as well. It was actually a really good match. And the triple tag match was very underwhelming. And I was really shocked by that. Tad disappointed. It was decent, but I was expecting so much more because we've seen the Lucha Brothers also do so much more as well.
Yeah, I think...
Well, that's the deal. Like, you had the...
Go ahead.
You had the pre-show match, Britt Baker versus B. Priestley, which was good. I mean, it wasn't lights out great, but it was good. It helped establish Britt Baker a little bit more. She was able to show herself off a little bit. You got to see B. Priestley a little bit more. I think both of them have a lot of potential down the road. But it wasn't like... Yeah, it wasn't like mind blowing by any means.
Right.
Then you had Proud and Powerful Santana and Ortiz versus the Young Bucks, and that was a good match. Adam Page defeated Pac, which we talked about earlier. A good match, not great, but good. You know,
Not what you expected from those two. No.
Sean Spears defeated Joey Janela, and that actually might have been one of the low light matches for me, as I love Joey Janela and I am a Sean Spears fan, but it just, I don't know, it almost felt like they were moving in slow motion, you know?
And they also
then you
felt
have the
lost.
triple tag. Yeah, it just kind of like I don't know if they needed to rehearse the match more or what, or if they just don't. I mean, maybe they just don't have chemistry together. Maybe Joey Janela, because we know Joey Janela can go. I mean, we saw that match a couple weeks ago against Omega. It was awesome, right? So,
Right. Yeah, but
we know
anybody
he can
looks
go,
awesome
and I
against
know
Omega.
Sean Spears can. But I know Sean Spears can go, and so it might just be that they don't have chemistry with each other, and that's kind of, you know, a shame. Then the triple tag, like I said, which was good, but it wasn't like mind blowing, and kind of the you know, our thought process in the whole thing. They added Private Party in there so that they could give SoCal Uncensored a way to win without actually having to defeat the Lucha Brothers directly. You know what I mean? Again.
Yeah, no need to throw two
Riho
losses
versus
on
Emi
each other.
Sakura. Riho versus Emi Sakura match was good, but you know, it wasn't anything that I'm gonna remember, and I'm not gonna in 5 years be like, oh, I really need to look up that Riho versus Emi Sakura match. You know, it was okay, right? But then Chris Jericho versus Cody, boom, we're back up to the top again.
Right.
And that John Moxley versus Kenny Omega in the unsanctioned Lights Out match, that was just phenomenal. And those both lifted it up from what could have been a mediocre show or even just an okay show to a very solid show.
Yeah, I was thoroughly entertained, especially when they brought out the bed frame of freaking a barbed wire at the end with the suplex, and then they also kind of stole a little spot from NXT when they took the ring mat off and you saw the boards, because I remember that I believe it was Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa who did something like that in
They did that a
NXT,
couple
right?
months ago. I mean,
Stole
yeah,
that.
they did that a few months ago in NXT, but that's been done for generations. You know, it's
right.
an old school tactic of pull back the mat to show that, you know, and they used to back in the 90s pull up the mats around the ringside, so they were doing it on the concrete. But
Yeah.
it's very effective, and it was very well done.
Nice little historical fact. The first guy ever to do that was Bully Ray. So just so everybody knows, in Impact, Impact was the first to do that. So Officer Smarks, you can get your little plug for Impact being another viable option.
I didn't get to watch this week's Impact yet, but I heard Brian Cage made an appearance and made an impact on it, pun intended.
Oh.
So,
Ah,
anyways, but no, I just felt that in the end we had two absolutely stellar main events that brought a show up from meh to awesome, you know, and
they were telling
and
this is not their marquee pay-per-views, obviously, and they definitely told a story with the final two matches, and they kind of told a story in some of the other matches earlier, you know, between the Lucha Brothers and whatnot. Hey, technically they lost, but they didn't lose.
They made SCU look phenomenal as well, so you know.
Yeah, you know. At the end of the day, they continued to tell stories. What I really like coming out of it is that it wasn't pay-per-view's done, now we're hitting reset. It's not next chapter on the book, and wait, did nothing happen in the last chapter? Like nothing from the last chapter carried over. And so you have to give props for that. The whole way through the show, they were developing other storylines. I don't know where the whole Emmy and Riho thing is going. It feels like mentor-mentee not gonna be a fight long term, and that was kind of disappointing. But other than that, they continue to tell a story and make it a longer term story, which is wonderful.
But I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it's just
I
like
think
I
the
mentioned, the
Emi
fantasy.
Sakura thing.
Go on.
Well, that's the thing. I think the Emi Sakura thing is really just a placeholder as they try to build up another female to really challenge for Rio's belt. And I mean, let's be honest, Awesome Kong is probably going to be, up to bat here soon, and they can tell the story of the little engine that could versus the big unstoppable machine. Which is always a great story to.
What happened with Awesome Kong and Nyla Rose? Weren't they supposed to do something against each other? I remember them kind of doing something with that, and then they kind of just
hinted at it during one of the battle royals, but they never really went any farther than that. I don't know.
That's it. 'Cause it's gonna be hard to put Awesome Kong versus anybody, man. Like, she's built as this monster, and honestly, this hair-eating thing is really stupid. So I don't know what they're trying to do with that either. They're women. They're missing something with the women's division. Something's just not clicking. Like, I don't know.
I will have to say, I did, just while we're talking about the Awesome Kong, the moment on Dynamite when she came out and attacked Ali, I had to laugh. I literally laughed out loud with what little voice I had on Wednesday to watch as Brandy got down and dug through Ali's hair to find the obviously planted fake hair for them to cut off, so they weren't actually cutting Ali's real hair off. It was just so obvious, like, I'm looking for what I'm supposed to cut. Here's the part we can cut. And it made me laugh. And
That's okay.
Kind of ruined the whole...
You know what? I didn't notice that because I just didn't care.
I think
I just thought it was catchy.
towards having a reason. I had a reason to care before Awesome Kong, and it's almost like this whole Brandy leading Awesome Kong thing actually hurts, because I was really invested into, and Officer Smarks can agree with this, I was invested in the Ali versus Brandy rivalry that was happening before Brandy had muscle with her, and I'm like, now I'm not as invested in it, and I don't know why.
And I think it's one of the things that they've kind of swung and missed on. I think they've made it too complex. You don't have to make it this whole, like, weird evil queen who orders around this minion sort of feeling to it. It can literally be Brandy. She's got a friend, Awesome. She says, Awesome, go kill that person. Awesome goes and kills that person. You know what I mean? They're trying to make it all this mysterious, weird, I don't know, something out of a sci-fi horror movie or whatever. And it doesn't need to be that intense. It can simply be, she's the muscle. I mean, it's why Jake Hager's in the Inner Circle, is to be Jericho's muscle. It's why Wardlow is with MJF, to be MJF's muscle. They didn't have to invent some weird, like, supernatural feeling.
I love Awesome's entrance, though. With there are 8 million ways to die. She's one of them. I was like, that's hilarious.
But maybe that's the problem too. There's too many muscle men in that regard.
No, I think I see where Mark's going here, is that so frequently, and I think back to a female storyline that was very similar to what you're mentioning. Alexa and Nia, though it wasn't well done because mostly Officer Smarks doesn't like Nia, but it was well done, and we all got behind the idea that Nia was kind of being used by Alexa, and Alexa plays a great heel. But I think maybe that's what hurts, is that Brandy doesn't play a great anything.
Yeah.
For sure. No, it's definitely Brandy's an issue there.
But I think I've kind of had the feeling that in the women's division, just in general, they kind of got blindsided when Kylie Ray decided she didn't want to be a part of it anymore. I think they had big plans for her, and that when she left, they suddenly were like, okay, now we've got to scramble, and they had to move a whole bunch of chess pieces around to make the things fit again. And I kind of wonder if that's not what happened.
Now that she's gone, we don't have anybody that makes you feel like Bailey and Kylie made you feel in television now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Kylie made you. Kylie was better. Was Bailey only better at it? I mean, that match, Orange Cassidy, was so good that I absolutely fell in love with Kylie Ray. That's actually the match that made me fall in love with both of them. So yeah.
Which
I thought
I
they
will
were kind of
point
doing
out,
that with Britt Baker. Like, I felt like they were pushing Britt Baker at first to be like the top woman.
I think she's the top woman. I think they were gonna push a character in Kylie Ray. Britt Baker's not a character. She's the Dr. Britt Baker, which has its own character, but it's not a personality. Kylie Ray's a known personality in being the smiley Kylie Ray.
Right. And she's a phenomenal wrestler too. Like, damn.
And she is currently wrestling occasionally on Impact Wrestling.
Oh, damn it. Now you're going to have to make me watch Impact for her? Son of a...
But I also wanted to do a side charge on this whole thing to Full Gear having a unique set. It's one of those things that I didn't realize how much I missed the unique set that WWE has kind of gotten away from for their pay-per-views until I turned on Full Gear and they had something totally different than they've had for the last 6 months, you know? It was so fresh and unique, and I hope at the very least that each of their pay-per-views from now on have a unique set, because it was really, really fun to see.
No, it wasn't the chandelier of lights.
No. Nope. And it wasn't, they didn't have the 2 tunnels like they've had for Dynamite, you know, and the previous pay-per-views. They had just one kind of entrance. They had the ramp extend all the way to the ring instead of, you know.
Oh, yeah. Again, paying homage to WCW.
Mm-hmm. But it was all these little things that made Full Gear feel like its own show instead of just like, hey, it's another Dynamite that's 3 hours long or what. So.
Or a glorified house show. Yep.
But I think that's all I really have. I mean, I just was really impressed top to bottom with how solid Full Gear felt like in the end. That even though there were some of the matches that, like I said, were a little bit below expectations, the 2 main events and a couple other matches really helped bring it up. And the fact that it only had 8 matches, like, when was the last time you saw a WWE pay-per-view that only had 8 matches that you still walked away from it feeling, you know, satisfied?
When was the last time you had a pay-per-view that you walked away from feeling satisfied?
Touché.
Yeah, just period. And honestly, the only reason why we walked out of Full Gear feeling satisfied was due to the main event, the 2 main events in that regard. Just imagine if, you know, AEW listened to everybody and said, no, listen, guys, don't do hardcore. Because there's a lot of people bitching before the match happened that, oh, you see, they're just trying to go for the hardcore stuff. They were bitching at WWE because they weren't doing hardcore stuff and so on. And a lot of people were complaining that AEW just going to be another bloodshed kind of thing, because that's what they were doing with the pay-per-views kind of. When they went to TNT, they would have to kind of, you know, sugarcoat it a bit and be a little bit more PG. Although they do swear a lot on TNT. Like at least every episode, I'm missing some talking because it's being blanked out.
Well, you know, and I actually like that about what happened on TNT, because I think I mentioned this to you when I called you Smarks, and the
8:02.
The timing for MJF to say bullshit was exactly at 8:02. I mean, it was 8:02 Central Standard Time, 9:02 Eastern Standard Time. They literally waited till the exact moment that the FCC would not have fined him, and he said bullshit. And I was like, wow, to have that timing down this quickly in that organization is unbelievable. Tony
I didn't
Khan,
realize that was a thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and in the States here, that's a big thing. So it shuts it down at a certain time. Now they can't drop an F-bomb. They can't drop the C word. I'm trying to think of any other banned words after that time. But prior to that time, shit, and I think shit's the only one, isn't it?
I can't even remember exactly the rules. I just remember, there was an episode of South Park that aired at 9 o'clock because they were going to say the S word that many times, like 600 times or something like that.
Yeah, and they had to wait till a certain time. Shit is the primary one that I can think of. Maybe put your dicks in there. I don't know. This is the most PG-13 we've ever had this podcast be, so I apologize.
You're going to get us a mature rating.
Yeah, that's it. And YouTube, I don't think goes by the CRTC rules, and they will definitely demonetize us.
But anyways, so I think that's all I had for crime number 2, unless anyone else has something to add.
What was the charge exactly? Because it was technically all good things. If you're being charged, doesn't it technically have to be bad?
A lot of our charges are good things. We charge people
fair
with
enough.
being solid shows and being awesome sometimes. So
The hard part is figuring out a
Okay,
crime
duly
along with awesomeness, like identity theft.
yeah, I sometimes
Right.
don't even bother to think of a kayfabe crime. I just say they're being charged with being a solid show.
Fair enough, that works. And I would agree with that charge. And
Yeah, I'm down.
yep, that's
Send it
two
to the
solid
jury.
charges.
Yep.
This witness says it's good.
We'll throw it out to the jury to see what they have to say. But with that, we will move on to crime number 3. Justin, what you got for us?
I'm going to break in here really quickly to talk about our sponsor. I know you've heard me mention Anchor.fm before. It's by far the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain really quickly. It's free. You don't have to have any experience in advance to do it. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. They're going to distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many other more, Google Podcasts, pretty much any place you can look for a podcast. And you can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So what are you waiting for? Go download the free Anchor app on the App Store or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Crime number 3.
So what I got for you is, simply put, guys, I got nothing.
It's okay, because I have a
Guys.
misdemeanor because we have 2 weeks worth.
Yeah, we got a lot
All
that
right.
we could cover there. So if you ain't
Okay.
got no crimes, that's fine.
But ultimately, though, in terms of just honestly, the crime, I would really have to. I'm giving this whole Rusev and Lana storyline an absolute first-degree murder charge. You are killing 3 characters in the process, so 3 first-degree murder charges, and Vince McMahon shall be put on trial for murdering 3 characters and essentially also having another charge of absolute just absolute killing the fans who are having to deal with this for at least 15 to 20 minutes every week. And honestly, he is also being charged for not allowing, I don't know, he's being charged of ultimately creating of just killing 3 characters, essentially. That's it, just one charge, killing 3 characters in the process, because I have no freaking clue where they are going with this, and I just don't even care anymore. Especially
The payoff will not match the wasted time.
Oh, I
No,
stopped
it
caring
won't.
about day number 1.
Yeah.
Oh no, me too.
That-
Me too. But
I
you know
am
what? We
gonna-
still have to listen to this. We still have
I'm
to
gonna
watch
give
it.
side props to Rusev for professionalism, because there is no way he actually in real life believes that this is one of the best storylines going in WWE. And if he does believe that, then what he's saying is all the storylines are crap, and he's maintained this high level of professionalism before his contract expires and he gets his freedom back, because this is a garbage storyline.
It is 100% garbage. I hate it.
Like, do we know who wrote this though?
Well, we don't know specifically who wrote it, except for the fact that it's taking place on Raw, and Paul Heyman has creative control on Raw, and he answers only to Vince McMahon. So it's either Paul Heyman or Vince McMahon who's in charge of that.
Well, but it's gotta be Vince. Like,
it's both of them that are signing off on it.
Yeah, but it's Vince ultimately getting the go-ahead. Maybe Paul Heyman might have wanted to take it somewhere. I can't help but think Paul Heyman wouldn't have said, yeah, you know what? Like, this has to be a Vince doing. Vince did the poop jokes last time, and then Vince is doing this stupid storyline here. Like, it has to be a Vince sign-off, because it just doesn't make any sense. And what is Lana doing? You know what I mean? Like, she's just going here, going there. Like, what was the point of saying you were pregnant and then it was all bull crap? I get it, you wanted to get him out, but it's just such a waste. And then, like, you're complaining that Rusev is such a sex maniac, and then you're saying you and Bobby Lashley are having sex all the time. Like, what? Like, you're just not in your right head. And did you guys hear of the potential ending of the storyline? Did you hear what was supposed to happen, or apparently what might happen?
There's supposed to be reconciliation. That's all I know.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be reconciliation. Like, what?
Yep. Like I said, now here's the deal: is I can 100% see this being Paul Heyman's idea, because I paid attention to storylines in ECW in the day, and this really reeks of a lot of the stuff that ECW did, and so you know it's very definitely in the
they had.
Well, Lana's not doing her job, because I just don't believe Lana, like, at all. Like, maybe she just sucks at trying to keep the story going too.
Ding,
like,
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, I mean,
fair enough.
You have a
Lana's fault.
married couple
Charging Lana
too.
too.
Not in love.
Oh man, like, it's just ridiculous. Like, and then I don't know, like what are you gonna do with them after? Like, Bobby Lashley is gonna have nothing. Lana apparently is gonna go with Rusev. Then we're gonna have that same Rusev date thing with Lana, which didn't even help Rusev to begin with. No one cared about them. This kind of made me interested in them, but their lack of storytelling and their randomness within the story made me care for them less again. So I don't know what you're doing here. Like, it's you're killing 3 characters, and you're gonna make us not care for these individuals anymore at all. Like, way to drop the ball on just this whole thing. And Rusev's a phenomenal talent. I remember there was even I don't know what AEW star was it. I think it might have been Jericho or someone else that basically mentioned, hey, listen, Rusev, forget about Lana and forget about that federation and come work for us. I forgot who mentioned that, but hot diggity damn. It's stupid.
I mean, here's the deal. The only reason that I think it's still continuing, and Smarks has pointed this out in the last 3 shows over the last 4 weeks, because we missed a week. But they get the highest ratings during those segments.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How does that make sense?
What 1.5 million people watch that clip on YouTube, and in the first 24 hours, 1.5 million people.
And it's like the highest segment that they've ever had.
Yeah.
And that's just ludicrous. I don't know who's watching it.
I'm pretty sure it's Vince McMahon, just like, all right, I'm going to get an automatic button to just keep repressing the button so it restarts and it loops itself, God damn it. I'm Vince McMahon. I want this to keep going on. I'm also going to put up the poop jokes more. These 2 are going to be the highest segments.
Yeah, just, it's not bad.
How? Thank you. But, like, it just, I don't know, like, how, like, everyone's complaining, but then it's also the highest on YouTube. Like, is it just a bunch of people who's not into wrestling just watching it? But then why would you even be interested? Because then when you would see this, and if you're not even a wrestling fan, you would think wrestling is even more stupid. Just the fact because it's maybe just a bunch of soap opera fans not watching it. We all had that issue with the Days of Our Lives actors getting released, and they needed some soap opera, so they went to WWE to get their feel on.
I don't know. Vince unfortunately has one thing still going for him, and that is he has a male audience and sex sells. And it has sold and sold and sold. Sex sells is the only thing that sells better than violence in a male audience. And Lana's hot enough for sex to sell, I guess. So I don't have a clue. I do wonder how many bass backwards rednecks are sitting there pissed off because Lana's with a black dude.
There's probably a lot of them. I also would like to throw a side charge into this whole thing. Against Lana for not being able to decide whether she wants to have an accent or not. Because you know, now, admittedly, I try to tune out whenever I see these things start. But whatever you listen to it, she will slip in and out of the Russian accent.
Maybe that's why she sounds so stupid then.
Yeah, I'm sure it plays into it a bit.
Like, I felt like she was better when she had the Russian accent.
She just needs to make up her damn mind, is what she needs to.
Oh my God, one job. Yeah, and you're right, it does sound like a Paul Heyman thing. I vaguely remember watching ECW TV way back when, and all the stories with Tommy Dreamer's wife and all that with, I believe it was like Just Incredible, and then the whole Raven thing too. Yeah, there was a bunch of silly stories like that. It's definitely sounds Paul Heyman, down the Paul Heyman pipe for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah,
anyway.
Guilty as charged, Vince. Paul Heyman, you're just as guilty. Lana is just as guilty. So there's the 3 first-degree murder charges, and Lana is committing perjury and fraud of, I don't know, guys. I'm not good. I'm only a witness, damn it. I didn't study law. All right. But she's committing some kind of fraud, I don't know, guys. Screw it. She's just committing she's breaking a whole bunch of laws, and I'm not a fan. All right.
Yeah.
I am not a fan. And, yeah, I can't wait till this is over, and hopefully it ends by Survivor Series. So like this, I at least know I only have a week left to endure this stupid storyline. But I feel like that's not happening.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
I hate like it's later.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but the last reports I heard said that they're not even going to have a match with Rusev and Bobby at Survivor Series because they feel like the card's already too full. So we've got at least another month.
I mean, you can give me the pre-show though. Just put it on the pre-show, like, so I don't have to watch it.
Is it Extreme Rules right after Survivor Series?
TLC. They moved TLC from.
That's not a bad TLC match.
No.
I don't.
They should just hire Vince Russo and put Lana on a pole.
I mean, I might be kind of more interested to watch that, to be honest with you.
Is there a joke about that made by Graves? Don't we already have a Lana on a pole? Isn't that what got us into this mess?
But, well, I agree. Charges filed against this whole storyline. And the thing is, every podcast I listen to agrees that this is the worst storyline. And somehow or another, it seems to be getting good ratings, and I just don't understand.
Viewers are chasing. Is this the Howard Stern shock factor watching? Is that what's going on? Like, how stupid is this going to be? Let's tune in and find out.
Maybe. I don't know.
Guys, as of right now, it has 2.4 million views on YouTube.
Well, good job. You just gave it another one.
Son of a... Damn it!
Touché.
I am part of the problem now.
Charges filed against Justin LeBlanc.
Ah, damn it. Lock me up and take me to jail. I refuse to have condoned in this behavior of allowing them to get another view. Lock me up and throw away the key, damn it.
Yeah, it's just not good. Like, I feel like Bobby Lashley's going back to Vince and be like, hey, I kind of like this storyline.
Hey, can I continue the storyline where I get to sleep with the hot girl?
More likes. So they have 37 to 10,000 dislikes. I also added my dislike to it as well. So at least I've done my due diligence to kind of even it out. But still, there's still a heck of a lot more likes. That is ridiculous. I feel like Vince just created like a bunch of YouTube accounts and just started, not Vince, but his puppets started creating a bunch of YouTube accounts and just to go watch it because it doesn't make any sense. But sex does sell. Lana is hot. Her voice isn't in this scenario because God, hot diggity damn. And yeah, that's it. I'm done. I'm done talking about this. We've given this too much time. I am sorry for bringing it up.
It was a rant you needed to get off your chest, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you. I do feel better about it, though. Thank you.
Well, then we shall move on to misdemeanors.
Misdemeanors and miscellaneous.
I'm going to start off with misdemeanors with charging NXT with maybe being bloodier than the Lights Out match at Full Gear accidentally. I don't know if you guys got to watch NXT this week.
Damn, I only watched the ladder match, and that was pretty awesome. So I didn't see any blood there, so I assume I missed it.
Yeah, you missed it at the end of the ladder match, and you missed it earlier in the night. The earlier one is the one that really got me. You had a match, Xia Li versus Aaliyah, right? And Aaliyah's not like a known good worker, she's improving, but still not great by any means. But
her nose, man.
yeah, Xia Li just flat out kicked her in the face and absolutely busted her nose open. And like, it's one of those things where, like, when you first watch it, you kind of wonder, is this gimmicked or whatever? But then you see it again, and you're like, oh no, because Aaliyah hit the mat and immediately was clutching her nose, and then Xia Li pinned her. And Aaliyah didn't fight it at all and just was like, and a doctor came out immediately and put, rag up to it, to cover. But she was just gushing blood from her nose. And it was one of those things that was like, oh my goodness, that was like, I mean, part of it was Xia Li at least should be, I don't know, take a little bit of the blame because she just flat out kicked the person in the nose. Mm-hmm. That was not a worked kick. That was
exactly.
But second of all,
which is hard to tell.
Yeah. Well, and you do have to put some blame on Aaliyah because you have to know how to take a kick like that and not bust your nose wide open. But it was just gushing blood.
Yeah. Well,
and then to later. What was that?
No, go on.
But then to move to later, you had the ladder match, Io Shirai versus Mia Yim. And during that, there was a moment where Mia Yim was holding the ladder in front of her face.
Io drop kicked it.
And Io drop kicked it.
Oh, that looked horrible, yeah.
And busted her open. And so she's then bleeding and potentially concussed out of it because she, for the rest of the match, looked a little out of it,
well, she did take that big fall later on. So I
felt like she got injured there, man.
That continued.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have gone with that as the finish.
Dude, because she fell in between both ladders and right on the edge of both of them when she fell off that ladder. Like, that looked bad.
I could see them continuing if she wasn't obviously concussed. But if you watch the rest of it, like, tons of credit needs to go to Io because she was able to work the rest of that match
she played possum perfectly.
Oh yeah. But working Mia Yim into the right position for certain things without making it look like, hey, I'm moving you into the right position. Or setting the ladder up in just the right position so that for Mia Yim's next move, it was where it needed to be. And so tons of credit go to Io Shirai, which I'm a big Io fan. But, oh my goodness, it was like people were decrying the Lights Out match at Full Gear for being as violent and as bloody. I think those two moments in NXT were bloodier than the entire Lights Out match.
Wow. Okay.
And mad props to whomever made the call from Gorilla to continue there when they were basically patching up Mia Yim on the mat right there. Mad props to, like you said, Io. Io played that I'm trying to get to the ladder so well, and it was 4 minutes long while they were sealing up Mia. I mean, it was quite a while that she pretended to try and compose herself to climb the ladder. And Mia was getting glued back together, you know? So that was I agree with you entirely on that.
But because here's the deal is, like I said, people decried the lights out match, but go back and watch it. There really was very, very little blood in that match. And people say it was so violent and all this stuff, and I cannot count on both hands the number of matches I've seen that have been way more violent than that match. I mean, you just go to YouTube and search for CZW and watch any one of the matches.
Oh no, I know.
There.
Of course.
You know?
Of course, though. But I mean, it's one of the more violent matches you would see on primetime television.
Yeah, and where I can agree with that, but once again, I still point out there was very little blood in it. You know, you had at the beginning, you had Moxley get his back kind of ripped open with the barbed wire, just a little bit with Omega, but that was psychology, because that was setting up, hey, look, this barbed wire is real, right? So that then later, when they brought out the other barbed wire stuff, like the barbed wire bed frame and whatever, your brain was already thinking real barbed wire. So it didn't matter if they gimmicked all the barbed wire in that bed frame thing and it was all fake. Your brain already had bought into real barbed wire. Yeah, and so they went through that bed frame. Did you notice that neither of them were bleeding anymore after that bed frame thing? They weren't cut up at all out of that. It still looked painful, but no extra blood on it.
That's true.
The other little things like the mousetrap board, right? I mean, the simple fact is that looks all sorts of painful and dangerous and everything, but in reality,
it looks bad though.
As long as you keep your hands balled up, it really can't actually hurt you. It's going to make some big noises, and it might pinch you a bit, but it's not going to, like, the real danger of those mouse traps is if they catch your finger, they can break a bone, right? Right. But you keep your hands balled up when you land on it, you roll over, you're going to get a pinch at most, right?
Hold up. Right. There's one other real danger for Kenny Omega. He's got the most glorious locks in all of wrestling. Yeah. Those could get pinched.
Those could get pinched there, and then like Samson, he would be powerless.
Correct. Yeah. So.
I like the mouse traps for creativity, though. I thought it was creative. I don't think I've ever seen that.
But my point is,
because there wouldn't be any damage or danger to it. So.
But by that point, we'd bought in on the danger because of already we'd seen barbed wire actually injure someone, right?
Right.
Then you had Kenny Omega bring out the glass that was arguably, supposedly from the table from weeks ago, right? But if you watch that was obviously gimmicked. Yes, that was sugar glass. That was breakaway glass, because it just powderized underneath them. And you know, Moxley got
been tempered.
But no, because even tempered glass still has sharp enough edges that if you're putting a sharpshooter and have to crawl through it, you're gonna get some cuts. True. Right? And Moxley didn't come away with any major cuts out of it, right? Yeah. But it was all of this. It was actually a very there were no light tubes being broken over anyone's heads, right? You know, I've seen the footage of Joey Janela going off the roof of a building through a trailer filled with plate glass and light tubes in CZW. That's deadly looking. This thing here, it was worked so well. Like even the V trigger through the glass full gear side was obvious plexiglass.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know, and like in the end, as violent as that match looked like it was, I bet you it might even have been the safest match on the show. You
Oh,
know?
we have to plan around that.
That's a valid point, though.
Second misdemeanor in that same event goes to John Moxley for being funny and bringing out a gimmick, almost Vince McMahon-esque and chain wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
God, I love that.
Yeah, I said on the thing, Kenny Omega said, "What is he gonna do? Chain wrestle me?" And then Moxley brings out a chain and wrestles him with it. So, touche, Moxley, touche.
Well played.
But that's why I said, the NXT was potentially bloodier than that Lights Out match on accident. Because I am 100% certain that Aaliyah was not supposed to be busted open. Right. That was not a gimmicked
I agree.
nose break. That was entirely. And she's posted on Twitter pictures since then of her just absolutely fucked up face. And I'm relatively certain that the Mia Yim was not supposed to be, at the very least, was not supposed to be broken open like that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what that was. Because she took the actual side rail to the face, and I think it was supposed to be slightly above her face, and she was going to take lower side rail to body, and then the two railings on either side of her face, because it was set in the right spot for her not to take any railing to the face, and she took it still. So yeah.
That was my biggest misdemeanor. I also have a misdemeanor for DA Fabe. This is in your stead. I am filing a misdemeanor against NXT for booking the match that you really, really wanted to see: Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make his first match back against the Bro.
Wait. So they're booking this for War Games, or this was on NXT?
It's on War Games.
Woo! I am excited. Nice.
Oh yeah.
It's the fill-in because Johnny Gargano is injured.
That's it. Right.
So they took Matt Riddle was supposed to be part of the War Games match, but they pulled him out of that to go against Finn Balor, and then they added in Dominik Dijakovic to the War Games match, which, in my opinion,
fourth person.
Yeah, there's still a fourth person that needs to be announced next week. But I'm super stoked for Dominik Dijakovic to be in it. Like I've said before, I was a fan of his on the Indies, and he is legitimately he's a big man who doesn't feel like a big man. You know what I mean?
Well, same with Keith Lee. I mean, he looks like a big man, but the way he moves is not a big man's moves.
And so, it can just be a really exciting War Games match. But when I saw that they were moving to Matt Riddle versus Finn Balor, I was like, oh, DA Fabe's gonna love this.
They really need to have Undisputed Era now in their third straight War Games. They need to lose a War Games at some point.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
I have a feeling they will.
So, I also have a charge in NXT. A misdemeanor. It probably was going to be my primary charge, but mad props to Finn Balor and Tommaso Ciampa on both of them calling out SmackDown and Raw in words, not in just the takeover attacks. Finn Balor last week with his I come down here to be against the real athletes. And Tommaso Ciampa, the very best line I've heard in NXT in quite some time, with the exception of Finn Balor promos. Hands down. AJ Styles, let me be the first to welcome you to the main roster. I loved it. I was like, well, at least they know that they're a better show than the other two are. God, I cannot wait for the XFL to start so Vince stops being involved in writing.
Here's hoping. Knock on wood.
That's first of all, you're putting a lot of assumptions that he's not going to stop. He's not going to stop writing. Oh, I'm Vince McMahon. I'm just going to do both because I'm better than you and you know it. That's right. He stole MJF's line because that's what Vince McMahon does. He just steals everything and essentially He's going to be writing both for sure. This man will have a heart attack before he lets go of one of them away. He's going to want to be in control of everything.
So we'll have 8 to 12 weeks of him not being able to write the XFL, and you can't just pretend a football league. So I'm really hoping here. Fingers crossed that we get just not so much Vince McMahon involved in wrestling and a whole lot of him involved in XFL. I will watch it strictly to keep him out of wrestling. If that's what it's going to take, is ratings for XFL to be phenomenal to keep him out of wrestling, I will watch the XFL. And I cannot believe I'm saying that because I do not want to watch it, but that's what I'll
Yeah. So. Yeah, well, I mean, the reports have it that he felt that the reason the XFL failed the first time was that he didn't get as involved with it as he should have been, and so he's going to be a lot more hands-on with it this time. So yeah,
that's garbage.
Guys, denial is not just a river in Egypt, according to Vince McMahon. Okay, because holy moly, yeah, that's not just the reason, Vince. It's stupid, and then it being so extreme and getting all these players. Like, just regular football is dangerous, okay? And there's insurances and so on. What does Vince McMahon think is going to happen here? It's an even more dangerous sport. It's quicker. And what, you expect people not to get hurt and not have insurance policies that you should be paying for? Like, it's just not going to go well. There's a lawsuit waiting to happen here at some point.
The biggest problem is it's a concept that's set up for failure from the beginning, because the absolute best case scenario, you have a really good season and a lot of people watch it and you've got some really good players. Do you know what happens the next season? Almost all of those players aren't available because the NFL signs.
Or CFL. Right?
I mean, CFL.
You have to remember, there's 3 or 4 leagues that are above the XFL in terms of fan preference. It could be anything from the Iowa Barnstormers that the Arena Football League's a pretty big deal. You've obviously got the CFL, which is really the number 2 behind the NFL, with the exception of college football. There's at least 3 leagues that are more established and have good incomes and have good fan bases. I've been to an arena league game for the Arena Football League, the AFL, and it's 7,000 to 8,000 people packing an arena, at Iowa Barnstormer level. So, and there's a lot more than that.
Yeah, and that's the deal. The simple
to be
fact
fair,
is,
technically, college football is going to have contracts now, right? Isn't there's talk that college football and football players are going to start having contracts?
No, okay. The ruling that came out was simply that college football players can profit off of their likeness, their namesake. The whole concept goes back to like when EA Sports was doing NCAA football, right? And so they would put out a game with the Nebraska Cornhusker, and you'd have quarterback number 8 out there, and he would look a lot like Taylor Martinez at the time, and he would play a lot like Taylor Martinez, but he wouldn't have Martinez on his shirt, and Taylor Martinez would get nothing out of it. And so
they also couldn't go do promotional signings and get paid for that.
Nope.
So college could actually get paid for those promotional signings. Like, we'll have a book signing at Barnes & Noble, and you can buy tickets for $25, and you get to meet this, and you get, then you can also buy a signed book from these 3 people, and the college kept all that money. So they can
and the same thing with the NCAA football, the game. The Cornhuskers got royalties from EA Sports for making that game, but the players didn't get any share of that, and that's really what that ruling was, is that the players can benefit from and profit from their names, which really, in my opinion, is only fair, because The colleges make a ton of money off of their names. Might as well let the players make some off of it. But I don't think that's going to change. That's not going to directly affect the XFL. But like I said, the simple fact is, you play really good in the XFL, you're probably not going to be there the next season.
Well, the last XFL, the MVP for that season was He Hate Me, and he ended up being Devin, the return man for Chicago. Devin Hester. He Hate Me was Devin Hester, you know? And so he ends up in the NFL as Devin Hester, making a lot more money.
Actually, if I'm correct, He Hate Me was Rod Smart.
Is that who that was?
Yeah. Yep.
I thought, either way, he still ended up in the NFL.
Yeah. He still went to the NFL.
As a starter.
Yep.
You know, so I thought it was Devin Hester for some reason, but it doesn't really matter.
But yeah, I mean, he continued to play for teams all the way up through 2006.
Yeah.
After
the XFL was done.
XFL. And that's the deal is that's where it's a law of diminishing returns with this. No matter how good the first season is, the second season will be less because all of the good players will effectively have used this as an audition for one of the bigger leagues. And they will go off into that bigger league. And so all you will be able to do in XFL Season 2 is find some other players that are lower down the totem pole and try to do that. And it's just going to constantly be this kind of grind, you know, and you're never going to necessarily be able to get to the level of the NFL, if only because every single player on all of your teams really wants to be on the NFL.
Yeah, well, because it pays better. I mean, here's the deal. If we as wrestling fans band together and watch the XFL and realize that we can keep Vince out of wrestling for 3 weeks, really close to WrestleMania, or 10 weeks, or however long it is, really close to WrestleMania, we could get some really good wrestling for a while.
Again, you're just assuming he's going to stop.
That's true.
Once the XFL starts. If anything, people start watching the XFL, he might get an ego boost and be like, hey, listen, I'm going to bring these XFL athletes over to WWE Raw and SmackDown, and I'll make him an NXT champion. You know what I mean? Like, no, it might be worse. So
very true. Very true.
Just give him those low ratings, because at the end of the day, he might have a deal with Fox for SmackDown and so on and so forth, but Fox is not going to be taking this XFL thing lightly if they're not getting good ratings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for SmackDown, they'll be like, okay, cool, no problem, like whatever, we'll take it, fine. But for football, especially when they're the lead broadcasting company for NFL and so on and so forth, like, no, Fox is going to look horrible in keeping both. I mean, I don't think the NFL necessarily cares, right? Because the NFL does not even consider the XFL as competition or ever will be. One, they're already too big, so on and so forth. But yeah, the XFL is it's just not going to work. And just for all the examples that you guys have just mentioned, with NFL and the CFL taking out players, but also just the insurance thing has to be a thing as well.
Well, like, NFL players aren't insured. NFL players insure themselves too.
Yeah, but they also have some kind of backing where if they get injured and so on and so forth. You're taking players who...
Yeah.
Right? So these players, I'm sure, are going to have some kind of contract, a year contract, but there's no way that Vince is going to be able to afford all of those players to have some kind of insurance as well. Because there has to be something, though. I mean, no player is going to sign and say, yeah, I'll do this football thing and, you know, potentially get injured. And if something breaks, oh, well, I didn't sign any insurance with you guys. I guess I'm screwed. Like, no player is going to do that, regardless of how much you want to be on TV. You're not going to risk your life. Unless Vince randomly found a bunch of idiots who wanted to form a football team. So.
Like, I think the XFL is another crime, perhaps.
Quite possibly.
I before we end this conversation,
a crime against humanity.
We're getting ready to close out.
Not alone just a crime in the courtroom. That's just a crime against humanity. Like,
Since I know we're getting ready to close out, Justin, I am going to answer that question. I need Officer Smarks to plug his ears and go la 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 la. I can tell you exactly how he's going to afford to do that, and it's 2 words, and it's Saudi Arabia. That's how he's going to be able to afford to do that.
Oh no, well, I mean, valid. That's very valid. But like, it's just, but I don't get it though, because even the NFL is, you know, they have almost like no salary cap with amongst their teams, and there's like what 32 teams if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm thinking of hockey, but there's a lot of teams. 32? Okay, fair enough. So, like, and you're supposed to be more extreme. And then there's football players who get injured in the NFL.
I think he's actually tapering it down, if I remember right. But
yeah, a lot of the things that made it extreme before have been kind of gotten rid of now. I think
the bottom line is, Justin, you live in Canada. In terms of,
I don't even watch the CFL, and I think the CFL's rules are garbage.
And so, I mean, you have to get better than the CFL, who still is going to pay these players better than the XFL will. I mean, even if the XFL starts to exceed the pay for premium players, the premium players are going to go to the NFL and I would be practice squad for $475,000 a year in the NFL. Any NFL team who wants a nearly 40-year-old man who's out of shape to get his butt kicked by, I don't care if it's Jadeveon Clowney knocking my helmet off. It doesn't matter. For $475,000 a year, I'll do it.
For that sort of money, I'll be a tackling dummy. I don't care.
Yeah. For practice squad, absolutely. If you want to find out if Jadeveon Clowney can tackle a 350-pound man, let's do this. I'm 6'4", 350 pounds. I'm not behemoth, but I'm a big dude, and let's just go ahead and you pay me $475,000 a year. I'm okay with that. Like, that's how much money Vince would have to start slinging out, and that's why I do agree with you. I don't think it'll succeed in the long run.
Well, I mean, you just also mentioned Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia is paying Vince like, you know, $4 to $5 million a show, let's say, that's still pretty decent.
Isn't it upward of $1 billion, Smarks?
I think the overall,
that's for the
10-year
deal
with
though.
Was like $8 billion, I want to say, but
that's like $800 million per.
Well, no, 2 shows a year.
It's $400 million per.
Something like that, yeah.
That's
a lot.
Money.
I mean, it's enough that they can
it's
give
not
Tyson
400
Fury
million
$12 million
per show. It's $1 billion for the 10 years.
I thought it was. He said $8 billion. Well, even if it's $1 billion.
I thought it was way more than $1 billion. I thought it was like $8 billion over 10 years.
No. It's $8 billion. They offered an amount to buy the WWE for $8 billion. At least that's how I recalled it. In terms of the 10-year contract, it was somewhere upwards towards like 650 million or something like that. I mean, I don't know the actual numbers, neither do you guys, or no one necessarily does, but it wouldn't make any sense, I feel, for it to have been over $1 billion, because I remember them talking about buying it like $8 billion or something, because the WWE is not worth $8 billion right now, guys. It wouldn't be that high. But the Saudi King was like, hey, if ever you do decide to sell the WWE, I want first dibs, and I'm willing to buy it for, like, I think it was anywhere between 6 to 8 billion, which is a lot for a company, even in WWE standards.
Well, I'm gonna look it up just to see how much it is. $50 million for each special. So it was $2 billion to be exact over 10 years, and it is $50 million per special. $50 million.
Still a lot.
Anyways, it's ludicrous.
Still not enough though.
But
yeah. Anyway, so let's get off the XFL and Saudi Arabia and all that. So
we'll move on to my final misdemeanor. It's from tonight. I am charging the WWE for boring title belt design. Boring. Because they made a big deal that they were going to replace the Universal title design, the red Universal title, with a special Bray Wyatt one that's
blue.
Pretty the same, just blue.
Yeah, that's blue.
Blue.
Just
And was there one or two? Because I felt like everyone was mentioning that there was 2 different title designs, but I only
there
saw
was
one.
a report they were going to release 2 different titles, maybe both of them tonight. They only released one of them tonight, so the other one's either being held back for Raw or was not ready for prime time, one way or another. But it's just, I mean, seriously, you've got The Fiend, right? The Fiend has the title, and the most you can do with it is just make it blue. That's all you
can wrestle in blue lights.
Yeah, here's hoping.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Why didn't you just keep it red? He has the whole red light thing. Like, what?
Because it's on the blue brand, SmackDown.
Oh, I know it's on the blue. It was just stupid, though. It's ridiculous. And
make it different than the WWE Championship.
Like
the
make it darker.
Make it. Do you know? Some people hated it. Some people loved it. I actually got a huge kick out of it. The Daniel Bryan green belt, and I would say green meaning bamboo. You know.
Environmentally.
Yeah, that was very unique. It fit his character, right?
Yeah.
So why not have the Fiend's belt be the Fiend's belt? You know, there's so many things they could do with it to make it match the Fiend's character. You know, you could make it more horror themed
for that.
Yep, make it look like it's human skin stretched over, you know, or whatever. I mean, there's lots of things they could do, but what did they do? They just made it blue.
Like Bray Wyatt could have hired that same guy who did his mask for him. Be like, hey, listen, try to like think what you can do to design the belt. You know, like I don't know. I think Bray Wyatt just stopped caring. He's like, guys, I gave you enough already. Like, you want to change my belt, go right ahead. But I'm done giving you ideas and you potentially screwing things up. So I'm done.
Like, don't get me wrong. There have been times that they've messed up on the individual title, the custom titles, but tell me that you don't have a soft spot in your head for the smoking skull belt from Stone Cold.
Oh no, classic. I can't even hate on this smoking skull.
Even the spinner belt. I mean, at least
even the spinner belt.
Fit
John Cena, you know.
But it worked for him. Yeah, it worked for him though. That's fine.
And it worked for the Miz when Miz flipped it upside down and it was an M.
True. Yeah, but I mean, the spinner belt didn't work for anyone else though. When everyone else had it, I think when Randy Orton? Someone else had the spinner belt for a while, and it looked kind of stupid. But it definitely worked for Cena because he was the whole hip hop character, so it worked. And the Miz too, because I don't know, I feel like the Miz just makes anything work because he's awesome.
Edge changed the spinner belt up and had a rated R logo on it. You know, I mean, if they would just allow them to be changed on the regular, and I have to agree with you here, if they allowed it to be changed on the regular by marquee stars, not by, oh wow, oops, Sin Cara just won a title.
Oh no, Sin Cara's not winning any title anytime soon after his announcement. The only title he's winning is thinking that he's getting out of a WWE contract when he has 3 years left title. That's the title he's winning, and it's going to be shaped in a piece of paper saying you're not going anywhere and strapped right on the placemat of the belt. That's the title he's winning.
Yeah. But that's my point. I mean, like, we've had a history where people have created custom title belts that fit their and not are in the past, right? Like we said, Daniel Bryan, but you know, John Cena had his customized Word Life U.S. title belt. You know, not even the world title; it was the U.S. title, but it was customized for and worked. The Rock had, you know, the title with his Brahma Bull on it. These all worked, right? And so you've got a character that's just dying for it in Bray Wyatt, and you make the decision to do a new title belt for Bray Wyatt, and what do you do? Make it blue. It's
dabba die.
Unless he's not gonna have it for a long period of time, and they're like, there's no point, because Vince doesn't like giving the fans what they want, right? The last time he had a world title shot and he won, he had it for like, what, a month? Not even? So unless they're not investing that much into him, even though he's selling, I just feel like either they just weren't being creative enough, or it's just they don't care because he's not going to have it. He's not going to have a Kofi Kingston run with it. He's not even going to be that long.
But here's the deal: the simple fact is, what they need to remember is this is a merch sale, right? You create a custom Bray Wyatt belt.
People will buy it.
People buy it.
Wyatt belt.
For sure.
Yep.
You know, people will drop that $300 on the shop.wwe.com for that customized Bray Wyatt belt.
Sure. I think I might
they'll
even
drop the $25 so their kid can have the foam plastic one.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the simple fact is, right? I don't know if you guys saw, but they released a special edition Undertaker belt on WWE, right? And,
I did not know that.
yeah, it's a special, it's limited edition. They only made like 200 of them or something like that. I can't remember how many exactly, but you know, and it's not a world title, but it's a title belt, and it's all customized for the Undertaker, and it actually comes in a coffin-shaped box when you get it and all of this stuff. And they're charging $500 for it, and I think it's sold out. Out. And that's not even one of their on-screen titles, right? And they have that chance to do something like that with an on-screen title, and I'll make it blue.
It's actually going for $749 actually. The Undertaker belt. Well,
Yep.
I think it's that price now because that's messed up. Yeah, $749 US. So for us Canadians, that's like a good $1,000.
Yep.
Yeah. And the belt doesn't even look that great. It's kind of cool with the coffin. Like, that's kind of awesome to place the belt in. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of belts, though. But yeah, fair enough. They definitely dropped the ball on that.
But
hardcore.
yeah. It's just, I saw, like, I wasn't able to watch all of SmackDown tonight because I had to run errands with my wife and get groceries because we needed food. But, like, I got a notification on my phone. Bray Wyatt unveiled the new belt. And I'm like, ooh, cool. And there I am standing in the middle of Wally World, pulling out my phone to look up this belt. And, like, I've felt disappointment at Wally World before. I feel ashamed at Wally World often. I felt both of them at the same time at Wally World, looking at that belt.
You've never felt both of them at the same time at Wally World before?
I know that's.
No, I have.
That's the ultimate question.
I felt them worse.
All right. Any more misdemeanors?
That was all the misdemeanors I had. You guys have any?
Dude, it's after midnight. I am gonna say no.
Okay.
Special charges.
And then all I had for special charges was I'm filing charges against viruses because I need them to stop kicking my ass.
Amen.
Yeah, straight up. Amen. And go back to your doctor and ask for some medication that works, bud, because you might be feeling better, but your throat still hates you.
No, it definitely does, but it's so man, I'm just so tired of this. I'm just so tired of it. Fortunately, I'm not on patrol anymore. I get to sit at a desk inside a building, and hopefully that'll help me out.
We congratulate you, Detective Smarks.
Yes. On that note, we will bring this to a close. As always, we tell you guys that we would love it if you would like, share, subscribe, give us thumbs up on iTunes, 5-star ratings on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. It definitely helps us out, gets more listeners on this podcast, and helps make our lives a lot better. You can always find us on all of your podcast listening platforms of choice. You can find us on Twitter. I am at Ron Order WBU. DA Fabe is
at DA Vincent K Fabe.
Awesome. And Justin can be found at
Yeah, I'm at JLB420 or my Real Talk Radio tag at Real Talk Radio 8.
And of course, you can find Justin's Real Talk Radio on all sorts of podcast listening platforms, or you can just go to his website, which was realtalkradio.ca, correct?
Indeed, yep.
Awesome. And then we've mentioned it before, and we'll mention it again. If you go to our anchor.fm site for Raw and Order WBU, there's a little tab on there that says support. If you love this podcast, we would love it if you would just go there, click that support, and pledge to give us $1 a month. Doesn't matter, just a little pocket change. It's not much to you, but it does a world of difference to helping us improve this podcast and make things better down the road, get us better equipment and all sorts of stuff. So it'd be great to do that.
Help us help you.
Exactly. Yes. Support WBU.
Raw and Order.
Wow. That sounds like a Vince McMahon written storyline right there.
But otherwise, I think we will draw this one to a close for this week. Raw and Order WBU, case closed.